This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, let me introduce the state membership committee, Linda, and then we can go around and everybody can introduce themselves, if that's all right. Okay,
His clock is chiming.
Yeah, whoever's clock is chiming, can you put yourself on mute?
yeah, that would be helpful, I think. Thank you. Okay, so if you didn't know, the state of Montana is divided into 5 regions for PEO, and you and then you have a state membership member who is in that region. So Julie Whitney is the Northwest region, and I don't think Julie, oh, there's Julie.
Yeah.
Hi, Julie.
Yeah.
She's
Hi.
waving. Then Sally, Chris is Southwest region representative. Muriel Moretti is North Central region. Jean Miller is the East region. And I have South Central region. So if you looked at the map, you could see the different regions. Then Patsy Gunther is the unaffiliate coordinator, which for reciprocity is important. So, and Kristen Hope, of course, is our organizer and our state board rep. So if you want to just go around, probably in different order than I see you on the screen. So somebody want to start?
You know, why don't we do it this way? If
Okay.
you are from the Billings Reciprocity,
Oh,
raise
good.
your hand. So Billings
Sandy.
Reciprocity.
Okay.
So it looks like Sandy. Okay. And then Bitterroot Valley.
Okay.
From Bitterroot.
Nobody from Bitterroot. Okay.
Okay. Bozeman.
Julie Wagner from AG.
Yeah.
Good.
Lynette,
You there.
Lynette is in the Bitterroot.
Oh,
Oh, okay. And we have at least 4 from Bozeman.
yeah.
Now,
Okay,
BU.
yeah. BU is Bozeman. Is
And
Bozeman.
BF and CE. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Good.
How about
And
Butte?
CH as well.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, yes.
NBP.
Okay.
Oh, and BP, yep.
Good. How about Butte Reciprocity? Anybody from Butte?
I'm here, Kristen.
Okay.
This is Robin.
Robin.
Oh, okay. Hi, Robin. I see
Oh,
you now.
good.
Good.
And I'm here from the Bitterroot,
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
Pam Wells. I can't get my picture to come up. I have
Okay.
I'm in the same boat.
No
I
worries. If
just
you
got
can
my
hear
name
it, that's
changed.
good.
Oh, I have to scroll down on my, okay.
I know. How about Great Falls Reciprocity? Okay, Muriel.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
How
that's
about Havre Reciprocity? Okay, from Havre. And Helena.
I'm Mo, Leo Wen with Chapter BZ, and
Okay.
I'm a new member of the Reciprocity
Good.
Alright,
Committee.
okay. How about Mission Mountain? Reciprocity. Missoula. Okay, looks like we've got quite a few there. All right, great. And Northwest. Hands. Okay. Northwest. Okay. Patsy, Jennifer, was there anything else that you wanted to?
No, I think we've, that's fine. Yes.
Oh. All right. Patsy?
Well, thanks to everyone for joining tonight. It's important to us that we get a good response from people. And the first thing I want to ask is, was anyone on last year's meeting, Zoom meeting?
Mhm.
No.
Deborah, Newville,
You.
and Julie.
Yeah.
I think
Julie
Cindy,
Wagner.
I think Cindy
Okay.
Carlson raised her hand.
Think so. I can't remember. I've been to a number.
Okay.
Well, that's okay because we have lots of things to talk about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Reciprocity. One of their main jobs is to work the unaffiliate list. And I'm the unaffiliate coordinator and have been, this is my 5th year, and have been sending out those. What I do is I send out the list of unaffiliates to each of the regional representatives of regions 1 through 5, and then they coordinate those lists with the reciprocity groups. And so my question tonight is how you guys coordinate within your reciprocity, how you coordinate and handle the unaffiliate list. And anybody can speak up to get us started.
Well, I'm Candace Miller Bozeman, Chapter CH, and our group just argues over who gets to invite the person the most often and who will she visit with and have tea parties with and etc. Yes, we love to meet them all. We do. We fight over them.
And I'm Julie Wagner from Bozeman AG, and I still have 2 more to contact, but I'll get back to you, Jennifer, with
Thank you,
complete-
Julie. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And that's the way we want it, is to get back to your regional representative when you've completed working on the unaffiliate list and have resolved each unaffiliate's situation to the best of your ability. Does everybody here respond to their regional rep, or what do you do when you're finished with working the list?
I just became the unaffiliate coordinator for the Missoula Reciprocity, and we've added that to our kind of a bylaws update to add a coordinator on our rotation schedule for our reciprocity. So I'll be doing it for the next year, and then the next chapter's turn. We had a one person who had done it for like 8 or 9 years, and then she moved away, and so then we had kind of a little bit of a discombobulation between new people trying to take it on and not knowing what the process was. I had done a lot of the unaffiliate stuff when I was on Reciprocity in Butte, so I'm fairly familiar, and just recently got the list from Sally. So there were a couple of names on there that we had already had, the person before me had contacted, and our process basically is our unaffiliate coordinator has a letter to send to any of the new unaffiliates. And then we'll make individual calls and then bring those names that people who want to be contacted back to and our reciprocity meets every month. So we bring those names back to reciprocity, and everybody gets that list. And then every chapter is free to contact those people. I mean, if someone only wants a nighttime chapter, then our 3 nighttime chapters would make the contact. If they only want daytime, so on and so forth. The last list had one person who didn't want to be contacted till 2026. So one wanted to be a night, one wanted to be day. So we're just kind of, each chapter is free to invite an unaffiliate to come and connect with the chapter, and then the unaffiliates are, help make their own decision about which chapter they want to connect to.
Do those unaffiliate, do those chapters get back to you with what has happened with the unaffiliate?
Yes, we
And
each
then do you
report
get back with, Sal, is it Sally?
Yeah, it'd be Sally, and yes, I will. This just passed
Yeah.
over into my responsibilities in May, or March,
Well,
April.
Jennifer Heiss, raise your hand, Jennifer. She's going to be the next unaffiliate coordinator starting with the convention. Just so you all know, she's the one that'll be communicating with the different regional representatives, which you communicate with. And so there's kind of a chain of responsibility here, starting with me down to the regional rep, down to the reciprocity group, and then the reciprocity group, however they see fit distribute those names. And then it comes back up, it goes back up to the regional rep, and the regional rep gets back in touch with me, and then I make the changes on the website, the international website. And that's how the whole cycle works. And when I pull the next unaffiliate list, there'll be notes that I've put in there that I can see. It reminds me of what happened to each unaffiliate, and I can decide whether she's a do not call person, you know, like the one that didn't want to be contacted till 2026. I would put her on a do not call list for, and then right there that to contact her in a year or so. Let's see, I have another question for you guys. Oh, it's the same. It just says, how do you stay in contact with your regional rep? I can't pronounce this enough that that's the key, because that regional rep is responsible for everything up to, and then to getting it to me. They're responsible for their whole region. I know there's been communication issues in the past between the different reciprocity groups and their regional rep, but that's something I'd like to see cured. And I thank you all for all the work you do with your reciprocity, with your unaffiliate lists. We've made some progress this year.
This is Mo from Helena. And so this is the first meeting I've attended. And so I know nothing about this really. I do have another co-chair on the committee with me, but she's not here tonight, it doesn't look like. So could you tell me again who our regional rep is in Helena?
Me, Jennifer Heiss.
Okay.
Yeah. And she'll be the chairman next year too of the
But I'll still be
membership
also,
committee.
yeah, but I'll still also be Region 4. So yes, let's connect, Mo.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of let you know that I really don't know anything. I'm supposed to be getting some help, hopefully. But I'll get in contact with you too, Jennifer.
Yeah,
So,
and
thank you.
We'll work together and answer as many questions as we can, or we'll find the answers for you.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mo, I'm in the same boat. I'm Cindy Bond from Chapter CE, first time having served in a reciprocity group. So I kind of feel what you're. And one of the things that I was thinking might be beneficial would be if there is any kind of a little flow chart, us how this information is supposed to actually flow. So it flows down, but then again, as mentioned before, it flows back up so that you ensure that the cycle is completed. Is there any kind of information like that? Visual?
I have made a flow chart before a couple years ago. I'm sure I have it in my files somewhere. I think I got it out to the regional reps. Maybe it's been 3 years or so.
It's probably before I've been a regional rep, because I was going to work on a flow chart. So maybe Patsy and I can work together on that in our transition.
I'll try to dig mine out, but that just makes sense because it's a flow chart material. You know, it'd be perfect for a flow chart. Yeah, because I started working on it. So we'll talk, Patsy, and we'll get something for you, Cindy, and everybody else.
And
there are also a couple letters that go out to the reciprocity groups. And I'll talk to Jennifer about that when we do our transition meeting.
Okay.
I'll show them to her, and if she wants to send them out, she can. But that's what I always did, is send out a letter describing how to work the unaffiliate list to all the reciprocity groups. So that's good information too.
Cindy, this is Morgan. Where are you from?
Oh, me?
Who are you?
Yeah, Cindy Bond. Yeah.
A Bozeman.
Okay.
Chapter CE.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know my chapters very well, so.
Listen,
I
that's,
thought you,
that's
I thought
fine.
you were referring to her accent. I was gonna say Tennessee.
I know, I'm from a chapter about 1,500 miles away. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Cindy, I'm only teasing because Cindy and I are in the same chapter.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right, thank you.
Mo, what is your chapter letters and your last name?
BZ,
Okay,
my last name is Leo, Leo.
okay, that's easy.
Molio,
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cute, Molio. I'm teasing.
it's okay, I get.
Does anyone else have anything to talk about with regarding reciprocity? I mean, regarding the unaffiliate list? If not, we'll move on to Muriel Moretti, who is going to talk about officer changeovers.
Right. Hi,
Thank
I'm
you,
from
guys.
Great Falls, and thank you all for being here. I was asked to speak about the officer changeover, the length of officer terms, dues or chapter rotation, and how you cover expenses and collect monies if you're hosting or putting on a Founder's Day. And I did send to Kristen our rotation schedule that we have. There are 6 chapters in Great Falls, and we take turns according to a set rotation as to our responsibilities. So can you show that, Kristen?
Yep,
There
can
we
you
go.
see that?
Yeah. So we have a president, and as you can see this year, it's chapter BD. I believe that's Sally Green. And we all have responsibilities. Some are to do with Founder's Day and some aren't. And so we don't hold elections, as you can tell, we just go through a rotation. So it's not like you nominate people and it's just an automatic thing. And as far as the cost of any event, you can see that everybody at some point has a turn at being responsible for the table decorations or, responsible for sending out invitations. So you incur those expenses on a rotation. So our president, she signs up the Founder's Day venue and chooses the menu. And our Founder's Day is usually held it's usually the third weekend in January, right around Founder's Day. And it's at the country club and we have a brunch. So we always set that a year ahead. And then the vice president, and there's 2 people for each of these offices because each chapter sends 2 people to Reciprocity. So vice president, that we figure out the theme and the program because we always have a program. Sometimes it's about the founders and sometimes it's not. And then we have a secretary who takes minutes for the meetings, and her counterpart is responsible for the table decorations, and usually they go along with the theme. So I'm on the reciprocity committee, so my buddy and myself will be coming up with a theme and a program in September so that the people who are doing the invitations are going to make the invitations relatable to the theme. So everything is connected. And then we have 2 ladies who are in charge of the registration and the name tags. And how we do that is one of the chapter, like this year, it's chapter AH, their treasurer is responsible for collecting the funds. So each member writes a check to her chapter for Founder's Day, and then her chapter sends 1 check to AH. And then AH is responsible for putting together the registration and has the name tag set out at the table as you walk into the country club. And then we have 2 that are responsible for the unaffiliated list. And they also are doing the Founder's Day invitations, and those invitations will be coordinated with the theme also. The unaffiliated list, since I'm also Region 3 rep, I've been doing that myself the last couple of years. It's just been easier, and that's not a good thing to say, but sometimes, it was the best way to get things done, to get the information back to me. And I'm hoping that, like Patsy says, that we can have a cure for this, where the information does not get shared like it should be. And then we have 2 ladies this year from AX, who will be updating the city roster. And that's already on a thumb drive, and every chapter then looks at it, makes any changes. And so we have an updated city roster every year. Our committee only meets about 3-4 times a year. In April, we had the changeover meeting where we shared, like the name tags were passed on from Q to AH. The president stuff was passed on from AX to BD. And then we meet in September where we announce the theme and start working on the committee that's responsible for the decorations can start working on the decorations. And then if we need to, we'll meet again. Otherwise, we don't meet again until after the event, which is in January. And usually that's at the changeover meeting. A lot of the communication is done through email. And I guess that's basically everything I had to say. Any questions? It's just a really easy way to know, especially when you're as president of your chapter and you might be putting people on committees. It's nice to see what the responsibility of that chapter is going to be in reciprocity. So you put the right person there.
I think it looks very effective.
It is. We've been using that system for years and years. Yeah. Any questions? That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask a couple of, I guess, not questions, but requests. So as the state organizer, I need to have all of the names and contacts, officer names and contacts, and then your contacts that are listed on the international website. Some of you have already reported that and some have not. So I'm going to run through the list real quick. If I can find that, there it is. The chapters that have not reported yet are Great Falls, Havre, Helena, Mission Mountain, and Northwest Montana. You use the president from the reciprocity group or the secretary could get onto the international website and enter names and contacts information on the international website. International has taken that link down right now. And so you will need to just email it to me. I'll put my email address in the chat box. So I need that as soon as possible. So I need your president, your secretary, and a treasurer. Now I know not all of your reciprocities have a named treasurer, but in order for me to fill the form out, I have to have a name for a treasurer. That the president or the secretary can also be named as treasurer. So you'll just have to let me know who that is. The reason why we have to have a name for treasurer is that at the end of the fiscal year, all reciprocities have to fill out an LC form for international. And that LC form goes to the named treasurer to fill out. If you do not have a checking account for your reciprocity, it's a super easy form to fill out. And it can be done online now also. My other request is that you send me your bylaws. Even if you haven't updated them for a while, if you would just write on them, reviewed 2025, and email them preferably, or you can mail them to me. And Linda, would you put my address up too? Thank you. So those are two things that are very important that I have right away. So the reciprocity officers and contacts are listed on one of our proceedings pages. And I would really like those names and contact information to be correct. And those preceding pages will get printed or be posted after convention. So please get those to me right away. Any questions on that? I really wanted to show you on how to get to the site on International, but when I went to practice, it wasn't there anymore. And so I had to call and they said, yeah, we took it down for now. But I can still do it from my end. So it's important that you get that done. Sandy?
Do you want us to go ahead and email you the bylaws again? I mean, I'm not too sure if our chapters or our reciprocity group has mailed in the most current bylaws to you. Do you want a second copy just in case?
That'd be great.
It's
The
been
only
missed.
bylaws that I've gotten is from Bozeman.
Okay, well then my president must not have been aware of that. I'll look into that for you.
Yeah, and just something you can take note of, every year, your officers and contacts have to be updated, and bylaws have to be sent to the state organizer. Those are two things that need to be done every single year.
So
And
it doesn't matter, even if we haven't changed the bylaws at all, we still
Just-
send a copy saying,
yeah,
hey,
just-
okay, this is
and
it.
if you just would write on it, reviewed 2025, just so I know that you have looked at it and you know what's in it.
Okay, so in other words, you would like us to scan it and then email it to you?
That would be great if you can do that. That's
Yeah.
the way I would prefer it. And the reason why is my mail is very sporadic. I have not gotten mail since last Thursday. So just to give you an example. So emailing it is a much better option. I will get it that way.
And I did put your address and email in the chat.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. Julie.
Hi, Whitney, chapter CI in Big Fork. What other activities besides Founders Day does your group do? Does anybody do anything else?
Missoula we do, there's a group that puts together a women's fair and we participate in that every spring. And the last couple of years, we put together a display case at the Missoula Library that sits out for a month we've got the QR code so people can scan that and go straight to the website. We have, little placards that show each one of the projects. We've got some pictures of some previous recipients of project funds and their story. It's a pretty nice display. We've had a few people get information from it and actually contact us about either scholarships or possibly joining. And same thing with the Women's Fair. We take names for people who are interested in finding out about projects or finding out about membership. So those are two places where we get pretty visible in the community.
Also, there is the joint craft fair that several chapters participate in, and that's kind of organized through Reciprocity for the date and the publicity as well.
In Bozeman, didn't we have a table set up at the Bozeman Professional Women's Fair that Ann Donovan helped do? I thought, Julie, did you go help with that?
Yes, I did. And we got fairly good response. So I think it was Anne that really organized that and gave us part of her table.
Muriel, I liked that on your
'Cause look at
sheet
this, it's
about
frozen.
the city roster. I'm assuming that's the roster of all of the chapters in Great Falls. How much information does that have?
Usually it's the name, the address, phone number. We don't do the email. But
For
that's
every member or
for
just
every
the
member,
officers?
yeah.
That's an
Missoula has
interesting.
one.
Yeah, it's really nice. And we have the non or out of area ladies too.
That's an
Billings is
interesting.
the same thing.
Mhm.
The Bozeman City Directory, we do include emails. And you said out of area, do you mean members that are in your local chapters, but they don't live in your area? Is that what you mean by that?
Yes.
Okay, well, so we include those in Bozeman.
I think that's a big job because I think I remember when I was secretary, and I don't know how long, I can't even remember which chapters or which city it was, wanted a whole list of each of the presidents of each of the area chapters, which is fine, but then I have to look at all of the yearbooks for all of that, where if the reciprocities are gathering that information, I think that that's perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, the thing is finding someone who wants to do it or has the technology capabilities.
Missoula's handbook for the city directory is a fundraiser for one of the chapters that puts it together, so it's not done every
Oh.
single year, so it's gets out of date really. Of course, they all get out of date almost immediately as soon as someone initiates a new sister, but it's at least got a base of, for finding people in the chapter.
Billings does the, we do ours biennially as well, because we have like 300, 400 people in the area that goes into our directory. So it does take a while. I have to be in charge of that. So I'm the technology person in our area and I get to input all the changes and such as that, but we actually charge for it. We will take pre-orders. And then we may order printing of a few extra because we only do it every 2 years. But we do charge members who want to have a city directory. And yeah.
Yeah, when we first were doing it, it was printed up and handed out at Founder's Day. And the person who was doing it would make copies for everybody. But we finally went to the emailing it to the e-sister for each chapter and let each chapter print their sisters.
That's what Bozeman does as well. And Jennifer has produced ours for several years in a row. She's just great at it, and we always appreciate that she does it, but she might be too busy to do it this year.
Oh, no, it's it's almost done, Kathy. But I didn't get all the directories. I didn't get all the yearbooks this year, but I could download the current members. But what Linda Miney said made me think that I should asterisk who the chapter presidents are in each chapter, just to identify that, because that might help. We've not done that.
At one time, wasn't that available on the international website, and people could go on there and find out the presidents of various chapters if need be too. But I don't think that's available anymore.
It is. It's under directories on the international website.
Okay. Okay.
Find them.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes, it's under resources and then directories.
Okay.
I might be able to pull it up. Would you be interested in seeing it? If I share my screen? Let me see if I can do it.
Kristen,
I
have it up. If you can share it, can I share my screen with you?
I think you can, yes. Let me make sure. Yep, we're seeing it. Mhm.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Do you just
I
want to
think-
walk through it and I'll
Yeah,
do the,
go over to resources. And then over to directories. Scroll down.
Mhm.
And it gives you a list of the local chapters and presidents, and then other, it's the next one is, I don't have my glasses on, I'm sorry. The directory of the chapter officers, state chapter officers, but you can read the whole list yourself, but that's how you get to it. So
Great.
there still are options there.
Thanks for that information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and you may need to log in a second time if you can still see that screen. When you click into one of those.
What's happening is that it's taking you out of the Montana website into a different website. So that's why you have to log back in.
Okay.
Just do it.
Okay.
So if you click on like Montana and then do city chapter or vice versa, it will pull up all the names of the chapters and as well as the president. And then if you just wish to email, say Terry Roughton, you just hit the contact button, type your email, and it will go right to her.
Yeah, you won't be able to see her email, but if you do that contact and write an email, it will go to her.
So that's the window you'll see.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeannie.
Okay, I'll stop sharing then.
Okay. Perfect. Any other activities that your Reciprocity does besides Founders Day? Okay. Well, let's go on to Sally.
There we go. So I'm Sally Kreis. I believe we found out I'm the only one whose chapter is not a part of a reciprocity. So I find this very interesting. All the organization that you ladies do and all you get done. But my question is, do you host a Founders Day program for chapters that are in your area, not just so, for instance, Butte is our reciprocity, closest reciprocity. They invite Deer Lodge, Anaconda, and Dillon to participate in their Founders Day, even though we are not a part of their Founders Days groups. Do any of the other reciprocities reach out to the towns in their area?
Billings does. We even reach out to some state presidents and or past presidents, and we try to reach out to any person who might be connected to Cotty College that's somewhat local. But yeah, we will reach out to other groups that are not actually members of the reciprocity in our area.
Thank you. How about any of the others?
We haven't in Great Falls that I know of. I know we sent out invitations to the state officers and that we sent them out by email. But then when we consider it's in January and our area is so widely scattered that it'd be really hard for people to want to come down for a brunch on a Saturday. But it's a good thing to think about, and I'm going to bring it up at our reciprocity meeting.
And then the other thing that we were wondering about are what types of programs have you given at your Founder's Day?
Missoula usually manages to find 2 or 3 recipients will come and speak. They do a little honor of any 50-year members. At the time there were 3 or 4 this last year, and they had a little goodie bag to send or give to each one of the 50-year sisters. What else was there? I'm trying to think. It was just a month ago, so it shouldn't be that far out of my brain. But
Well, we always have a very successful crafts or
boutique, yeah.
boutique, and many of the chapters participate with a table offering something for sale that allows them to earn some money. So that's always quite an attraction.
So is that a yearly event then, or each time you meet?
That's just our Founder's Day. Yeah.
Oh, at your Founder's Day.
Okay. I think every chapter had a table or 2 at this last Founder's Day and had pretty successful sales. I think we sell my chapter sells our butter braids, and then we had a few other handcrafted things we had available for sale, and only took a half a box back when I went in with a full box. So
thank you.
Jean Miller, small chapter N in Roundup. Sandy, would you like to talk about the program that Billings Reciprocity had in January with the updated fashions? That was unique and interesting.
Yeah, the chapter putting on the program had a connection to a gal who did an in-home boutique with clothing. And so they each took the personality, or they took the personality of each of the 5 sisters, and they tried to put them dress various models according to that sister as what she would look like in modern day clothing. So it was very unique. They kind of gave a little bit of a personality behind the sister, as well as to why they would be wearing this kind of outfit in today's thing. In past, we've actually got quite a notebook full of programs that we've used, because Billings has been doing this for a long time. And quite often you can actually go into International and find programs to do for Founder's Day. For the most part, we tend to base our programs around the 5 sisters some way, somehow.
Butte had almost always did each on their rotation. One chapter would be in charge of setting up the lunch and doing the invitations, and another chapter would be in charge of doing the Founder's Day program. And one year my chapter was involved in putting that one together, and several years, but because it was only the 4 chapters in Butte, so it was every 4th year you'd be doing the program. But one year we dressed up as the Founders Days, the founders' fathers, and talked about our daughters, and
fun.
That sounds fun.
The imagination, and you can look on the Montana website to find programs on the international website in other states, so there's no shortage of places to get inspiration.
Yes, there is a whole list of Founders Day programs on the Montana program library. So that's on the Montana website.
All
Being in
right.
Missoula, we've got better access to recipients, so a lot of them are still here, are still going to school here. And so the first time I went to the Founders Day here in Missoula, it was in 23, and I think we had 5 recipients that each got to speak about. And it's a lot like going to convention, when you get that moving story from a recipient about what a difference, the scholarship made in her life, so. This year we had a recipient who got her scholarship like 20 years ago, and she came and talked, and now she's coming we're having a lunch for her on Saturday to talk to her about coming and joining our chapter. But she 20 years of how this has continued to make a difference in her life, and it was pretty moving. So
That's
great.
awesome.
It's awesome.
Jeannie, would you talk about the Founders Day program that you did last year?
Okay, so Chapter BU last year, we were in charge of doing the program through our Reciprocity, and they did a tea and trivia. So they pulled the chapter members. I was not involved, but they had all kinds of trivia, basic, oh goodness, not only PEO trivia, but just basic like animals, popular culture, all kinds of different topics. And it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
And this past year they did a bingo card.
Mhm.
So that was fun as well. So we find little games and just fun things to really connect. And they make sure that the organizers make sure that the tables are mixed up so that you're not sitting with your same chapter members. You're getting to know other members throughout the community. So it was a lot of fun. Anybody else from Bozeman can weigh in because I'm sure I'm not remembering every detail. But
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing more to share, we'll move on to Jennifer or back to Jennifer.
Okay, well, we've touched a little bit on how at least one chapter shares responsibilities within Reciprocity. So would others want to share what their Reciprocity does in terms of sharing responsibilities or how you work with your chapters? Sort of leave it at that and see.
I can speak to both Missoula and Butte. Both have a rotation schedule, and it's in turn for who's going to be president, who's going to be secretary, who's going to, in Butte it was president, secretary, Founders Day lunch and Founders Day program were the sort of four. And then Butte had developed a star group so that all the chapters were working together on coordinating with STAR, so we weren't every single chapter sending someone off to the one guidance counselor at the high school. Missoula, same thing. The rotation schedule is a little bit more complicated than it had been in Butte, but we've got there's 4 chapters each year involved in putting on the Founders Day, and then we've got the president, the secretary, treasurer. Now we have the affiliate coordinator. We have the STAR coordinator. Each year there's a different chair for the STAR coordinator group, and they are supposed to meet in the spring and make sure we're all each of our chapters is assigned a specific school for looking at STAR. And we've worked really hard this last year on really refining that process and that procedure so that our chapter has Big Sky High. So we're just, we don't go to all the other schools. And there are enough schools to go around for all 8 chapters in our area. We have a chapter up in, one chapter goes to Sealy Lake and one down the valley, and 4 public schools here plus 2 other private schools. So working really hard to make sure we're staying connected on making sure we aren't stepping on each other's toes and we aren't missing anybody. We did have a weird event this last fall where a guidance counselor had heard about PEO through someone who was a PEO sister at his school, I think, and I think sent a girl off to send an application to the state to apply for STAR, but the letter came through as if she was trying to maybe go to COTI, and so it just didn't, the deadline was well past before the letter ever got back to Missoula, and it was, we've been working with the state officers trying to make sure we stay up on who's got what and who's on first and who's on, who's pitching and who's catching. So.
Well, Bozeman's similar, except that whoever's president, the chapter that's president also is in charge of Founders Day. So I'm hearing that several of you have different responsibilities, and it's spread to the chapters. In Bozeman, one chapter does Founders Day. So that's a little bit different. And then we do assign chapters to the different projects, so we're not stepping over each other. but scholar is a little different, handled a little differently. We have one person assigned, and it's been consistent the last few years because she's made great inroads. Montana State did not want chapters coming at them, repeatedly. So one person handles that. But if it's depends on what chapter's in the rotation to get the name, she gives any names to them first and then divvies them out to other chapters. But I think it sounds similar to what some of you have said. Bozeman's handling it, little variations, but pretty much sharing the duties.
And I would just add on to that, Jennifer,
Thanks, Kathy.
that I was going to just say that with all of the projects, whoever's chapter is in charge of that, for instance, COTI, let's say BP is in charge of COTI, our representative for COTI, will get all of the chapter representatives for COTI together, and they will coordinate what schools will be contacted, which chapters will go, who will contact the various high schools. And that's pretty consistent, is whoever chapter is responsible for whatever project coordinates from the other chapters so that everybody is working together. But that does rotate, so yeah. Which is good.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Other comments?
I have a question for Sandy, because I'm in Sandy Schoenberger's area, but not in the Reciprocity group. Does the Billings Reciprocity go to MSUB and check for a list for possible scholar awards and come back and share?
We've been having issues with, I don't remember, I can't think of the special term about it, but they don't want to talk to us unless we're willing to include men.
Oh.
So we run into a lot of issues with the gender thing. Since we're only going to women, they don't really talk with us very well. That's something we've been fighting for a couple, 3 years now, where it's not easy to get into high schools and colleges and universities because of that. I do know Rocky works with us a little bit, only because our chapter personally does a grant, and we can somehow get some names or get a name somehow through them. But for the most part, the bigger state colleges, they don't want to deal with it because we focus solely on women. If anybody's got any suggestions, I know we'd be willing to listen to them, but we've been running into a lot of stone walls lately for all of that.
We haven't had any trouble with MSU with that so far, which is great. That's not to say that we won't at some time, but the fact that we're only getting names from them, or that women are allowed to apply for it. The university isn't really, they're not really rubber stamping anything. I mean, other than giving the names that Katie is going to interview, giving the girls the interest. So I don't know. At one time, somebody talked to somebody at the MSU Alumni Foundation, and we got that story. But the fact of the matter is that it does not go through the university. We're just simply getting eligible students, graduate students' names. So we get it through the Dean of Graduate Studies. Thanks, Sandy, for responding to that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
One of the things that Missoula did for us this last year was to put on, they have a list of scholarships that all students can access on their county website. And so they added a link for the girls who are interested in STAR Scholarship to contact us. And they have, if you're at Big Sky, this is the name, and we'll each year update and refresh whoever the local, each chapter's star chair is. So my star chair this year is listed on their website as any girls that are interested in doing an application can, we put up sort of a mini application for them to fill out, and then they can send that to the direct contact in the chapter for their particular high school, which I think is going to work out really well for all of us. But we had a really good in with the webmaster for the Missoula County Public High Schools. So.
Okay, Jean, do you want to kind of wrap up some questions?
Well, I'm going to start with a question.
Okay.
I see names and I see number 14063, and I'm just curious who that might be.
I haven't, oh, I see. Unmute yourself so you can tell us, please.
If you would hit unmute.
Well, can you put it in chat, maybe?
So are you? This is Robin from Mute.
There we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Actually,
I didn't enter my name because that was in there from a previous meeting I attended. I'm Mary Kay Jacobson, and I'm from Hamilton, and I'm new, so I'm just taking all the information and a lot of notes down. I'm new to Reciprocity.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Robin Hand from Chapter G, and I'm not an officer, but I've been attending the meetings because the officers and the people in my chapter that were supposed to be there weren't available. So it's all kind of new to me too. I'm not sure. They seem to change every couple of years, and I'm not sure the information is getting as well passed along as it probably did in the past. So I'm just trying to pick it all up so I can take it to our reciprocity group.
Excellent. Well, I can speak from experience that it takes 1 or 2 or 3 years before you know what you are trying to do. So, are there any other questions? We've covered a wide range and learned a lot. It's been very interesting what across the state people are doing. So, are there any other questions that might come forward this evening?
This is Nikki Quick from Bozeman, Chapter CJ. And I was curious, when all the bylaws are shared with the coordinator, do we have access just to kind of compare how different groups do things?
They are not posted anywhere. I just hang on to them. I think we could probably talk about that as a state board and decide if we want to post them on the Montana website. We have a meeting coming up next week. We'll do that.
Thank you for just considering it. I'm curious. I know when I went into Reciprocity years ago, I didn't even realize the rotation was for president. And I mean, I learned so much so fast, but it's interesting just to hear how even tonight, how different groups are approaching Founders Day or different rotations. So I think it might be nice to look and see, I was trying to find the simplest way to do things. It'd be fun to see what people do.
When you are sending me your bylaws, if you have a copy of your rotation schedule, include that too, because that could be helpful.
Kristen, I would just say that in Bozeman, our rotation schedule is right in our bylaws.
Yeah.
Or the bylaws are standing rules. So
okay.
we just make those changes yearly when those responsibilities change.
Perfect. Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts?
This is Ann White, although it says Catherine Ann Marshall iPad. I'm in Bozeman, Chapter F, and I received an email from the Bozeman Reciprocity asking us to email our chapter yearbook names, address, phone numbers, emails, with some discussion about the fact that state is no longer putting yearbooks out during convention, and whether or not we should be sharing that information at any level beyond the chapter. And so I had thought someone from Bozeman Reciprocity was going to ask at this meeting whether or not we're supposed to be sharing that information.
I'm going to let Jeannie speak to that, but I did address that with our state president,
Okay.
asking whether or not we should do the city directory. And I shared what she told me at the last meeting, but Jeannie, I'm going to let you field that one.
Oh, boy.
Well, I mean,
I don't remember
well,
that email. I've done a lot of emails.
well,
If
it's been a while, but you said that you thought that it was okay to continue doing the city directory.
Yes, if it's, as long as it stays within your group, it's okay. Because it's just your reciprocity, your chapters, that will be fine. What becomes a problem this is why we're no longer doing the yearbook display at convention, is there's enough non-PEOs kind of coming in and out and working, working at the hotel, whatever. There's a possibility that information could be captured, just, a quick screenshot with a phone. And that opens up a lot of security issues, privacy issues. So that's why we're not doing that. However, when it comes to just a reciprocity directory, a citywide roster directory, that should be okay. You're not going to be sharing that necessarily, probably at the local restaurant, the local truck stop, whatever. It'll just be within your own group. So it should be okay.
Can I just add one thing there?
Absolutely, Linda.
But bear in mind that the circularization policy covers the use of that city roster, city directory, and be very familiar with how you are actually going to use your city directories. It cannot violate the circularization policy. And what I'm saying is you shouldn't send out a mass emailing to other chapter sisters for I don't know, your own personal gain. Those are examples. I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
So when you get a chance, you can send me the directory.
And who again? Supposed
Jennifer
to
Heiss. That's fine. I'll get in touch with you, Kat. It's not Catherine, whoever it is.
Ann White.
Certainly.
That's
Go
my
ahead.
name. So it's Ann White in chapter F.
Okay.
Certainly talk about it within your reciprocity as well. So if there's some who are just not comfortable with that, respect that, and maybe it's time to find a different way to connect or just stay within the presidents. So you kind of use that as a guide as well.
Well, I mean, we did talk about it at the last reciprocity meeting when I was still president, and I didn't get any, everybody seemed to want to still have the city directory, and we're happy with your decision that it was okay to go forward. If there are concerns, maybe the current reciprocity group needs to talk about them. I haven't heard them.
This is Ann White again, and I only received the email from Jennifer, and I'm still trying to understand reciprocity, and I'm not a member of that group. So I resisted sending it to her, and she said, well, we'd find out what the answer is. So now that I know, I will go ahead and send the information on. So there's no problem from our chapter. It was just me not understanding.
Yeah, that's fine.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we wrap this up? And we certainly do thank everyone for taking the time out of our beautiful May evening to be here.
Well, I hope you found it useful.
Yes.
And I was remiss and did not introduce the other two state officers that are joining us.
Oh.
President Jeannie Peterson and Linda Miney, Vice President. So they joined us tonight too. And I will post this on the Montana website. It'll be under resources and then videos. So if you want to go back and listen again. And if there isn't any other questions, then have a great evening, the rest of it, and hopefully you can get outside for a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Thank you all.
Good night, all.
Stop
Yeah.
your recording.